Alrighty. Jayo Jayo Rodhumad Ahumba Kunya Vihari Jai Hurad Humadava Kunya Vihari Gopi Janavalabha Irivarudagute Gopi Janavalabha Irivarudagute Yasodanandana Vrajadanaranjana Yasodanandana Vrajadanaranjana Jamuna Tera Vanachare Yamuna Tera Vanachare Jai Hurat Umadava Kunyavihare Joy Hurat Madhuva Kunyavihare Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradagate Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradagate Yasodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yasodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Jamuna Tera Vanachare Yamuna Tera Vanachagoti Jai Hurat Umadava Kunyavihare Jai Hurat Madhuva Kunda Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravidakacharya, also Tada Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace, Abhaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anandakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Rin Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha, Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopagopinath Sayam Kunda, Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Mathuram Ki Jai, Jagannath Swami Ki Jai, Yamunamai Ki Jai, Shrimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Om. All glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So before going on to Srimad Bhagavatam, we have a very interesting verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam today. I'd like to mention and speak a few words about Srila Prabhupada arriving in New York, actually arriving in Boston and then New York. So Srila Prabhupada arrived at the United States on this particular day. So I think it's a really important day because it marks the day when Prabhupada's mission actually started. So Om Gana Timidandasha Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshuram Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So I'm going to make some reference to the Prabhupada Leelamrita, although I'm not going to read everything. So of course Prabhupada came on the Jala Duta. Jala Duta, that means the sea messenger, which is appropriately named Jala Duta. Duta means like a messenger. Like you have the word. Yeah, Vishnu Duta, Hamsa Duta, Hamsa Duta, the swan, carry swan messenger, like that. Hamsa Duta, Vishnu Duta, like that. So anyway, it means the messenger. Messenger in Jala means like the sea. So Jala Duta, very appropriately named. And of course, the captain's name was Pandya. Actually, means he was Bengali. Not Bengali, sorry, he was a Gujarati. And on the passenger manifest it is mentioned Sri Abhay Charnadavinda, whose age is listed as 69, was taken on board bearing a complimentary ticket with food. And of course, Srila Prabhupada really had to push to get that. What's that? He had to push to get that complimentary ticket and push to get his permission to leave India and push to get the tax form. I mean, it was just like so much determination was required. So Prabhupada said in his diary, we're going to read some of Prabhupada's diary, the cabin is quite comfortable thanks to Lord Sri Krishna for enlightening Sumati Morji, because she was the head of the Scindia steamship company, for all these arrangements. I am quite comfortable. But on the 14th day, there was some problem. He reported seasickness, dizziness, vomiting, Bay of Bengal, heavy rains, more sickness. And then on the 19th day, the ship arrived in Ceylon, and Prabhupada went ashore with the captain. And then Janmashtami, the appearance day of Lord Krishna, fell on the 20th of August that year. And Prabhupada gave a lecture about Janmashtami to the crew. And where do you land? I'm sorry. Colombo and Ceylon. Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka. It's known as Sri Lanka now. So on the 20th day, 19th it went at Ceylon, and then on the 20th, Prabhupada gave a lecture to the crew about Lord Krishna, and he cooked a prasadam and he distributed prasadam to the whole crew. So Prabhupada wasn't just like sitting in the boat, waiting for something to happen. Prabhupada was preaching all along. And then the day after Janmashtami, he had his 70th birthday, and there was no ceremony, obviously, no Vyas Puja or anything that year. And then the ship arrived in Cochin, which is part of India, and Srila Prabhupada got his Srimad Bhagavatams at that particular point, which had been shipped to Cochin. And then it went out to the Red Sea. Then he had more sickness, dizziness, and for 2 days he suffered 2 heart attacks, tolerated the difficulty, kept meditating on the purpose of his voyage. And then on the night of the second day after his second heart attack, Prabhupada had a dream, and Lord Krishna came in many different forms in his various incarnations, and he was rowing the boat. All the incarnations of Krishna were actually rowing the boat and assuring Prabhupada that he would be successful. Then he went through the Suez Canal, and he recovered a little and started cooking khichdi and puris. Then it's described he crossed the Atlantic Oceon. September 9th, they began to cross the Atlantic Ocean, and the Atlantic Ocean, as reported by Captain Pandya, was far more peaceful than the captain had ever seen it before. Krishna made the arrangement for Srila Prabhupada's passage over the Atlantic Ocean. And for those of you who've been in boats before, like myself, the Atlantic Ocean is not peaceful. The Pacific Ocean generally is much more peaceful. That's why it's called the Pacific Ocean. So, and Srila Prabhupada would stand on the deck of the ship at the rail, watching the ocean and sky and thinking of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Vrindavan Dham, and the order of his spiritual master to preach in the West. And Mrs. Panja, the captain's wife, knew something about astrology, and she was, I guess, a little psychic. She said that if Srila Prabhupada were to pass beyond this crisis in his health, which he was experiencing at that point, it would indicate the goodwill of Lord Krishna, and he would be successful. So, on the 32nd day, this is a long voyage across the ocean. It's not just a simple voyage. Prabhupada wrote, he cooked bati khichdi. It appeared to be delicious, so I was able to take some food. Prabhupada liked tasty food. Prabhupada would sometimes say to the devotees who made him boiled vegetables, let the starvation committee go to hell. Not that he was cursing his disciples, but he just indicated that tasty food is important. And he wrote, today I've disclosed my mind to my companion, Lord Krishna. And Prabhupada wrote a poem about this in this connection. And Prabhupada was indicating his companion was Lord Krishna. So this is a Bengali poem, and here's the English translation of some of the verses. I emphatically say to you, O brothers, you will obtain your good fortune from the Supreme Lord Krishna only when Srimati Radharani becomes pleased with you. Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is very dear to Lord Gauranga, Lord Chaitanya, the son of Mother Sachi, is unparalleled in his service to the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. He is that great saintly spiritual master who bestows intense devotion to Krishna at different places throughout the world. By his strong desire, the holy name of Lord Gauranga will spread throughout all the countries of the Western world. In all the cities, towns, and villages of the earth, from all the oceans, seas, rivers, and streams, everyone will chant the holy name of Krishna. As the vast mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu conquers all directions, a flood of transcendental ecstasy will certainly cover the land. When all the sinful, miserable living entities become happy, the Vaishnava's desire is then fulfilled. Although my Guru Maharaj ordered me to accomplish this mission, I am not worthy or fit to do it. I am very fallen and insignificant. Therefore, O Lord, now I am begging for your mercy so that I may become worthy. For you are the wisest and most experienced of all. And the poem ends. Today that remembrance of you came to me in a very nice way. because I have a great longing, I call to you. I am your eternal servant, and therefore I desire your association so much. O Lord Krishna, except for you, there is no means of success. See, Prabhupada was a great poet. I mean, all this wonderful poetry that Prabhupada wrote, and we're going to read another poem that Prabhupada wrote upon arriving in America. So after, skipping ahead, after 35 days, that means from his departure from Calcutta, the Jaladuta reached the Commonwealth Pier in Boston at 5:30 a.m. on September 17th. The ship, of course, today is the Vaishnava holiday of that arrival in America, not the actual Western calendar date. So the ship was going to stop briefly in Boston before going to America, and one of the first things Prabhupada saw in America were the letters A and P. Were painted on a warehouse. So A and P refers to basically a supermarket chain. I don't know if that supermarket chain. What? Doesn't exist anymore. So anyway, it was one of the biggest supermarket chains in America at that particular juncture. So Prabhupada saw the Boston skyline, went through immigration at that point, got a 3-month stay, which he actually ended up extending again and again and again, and finally got his green card. And Prabhupada took a walk with the captain into Boston, where Prabhupada was able to see for the first time the commercial areas in America with old churches, warehouses, office buildings, bars, tawdry bookshops. That means, anyway, I want to tell you what that means. Nightclubs and restaurants. And the most significant thing that occurred during his short stay in Boston, aside from the fact he had now set foot in America, was that at this pier, Prabhupada wrote this wonderful poem, Bengali poem, entitled Markine Bhagavat Dharma, which means teaching Krishna consciousness in America. So here are some of the verses from this poem in English. My dear Lord Krishna, you are so kind upon this useless soul, but I do not know why you have brought me here. Now you can do whatever you like with me, but I guess you have some business here. Otherwise, why would you bring me to this terrible place? And remember, at that time, Boston was not as terrible as it is today, or America was not as degraded as it is today. Sorry about those of you who are from Boston who may be listening to this class. Actually, cities are made by man, the country is made by God. And these hellish cities, simply hellish to live in a city. Unless one is preaching, what is the need to live in a city like that? Most of the population here is covered. The reason people live in the cities is because the social life and the so-called cultural allurements that are in the city. That's one of the big things. Like I was brought up in New York, and I remember that New York was where the theaters were, the museums were, and nowadays we see that because the theaters and the museums are no longer open because of the COVID crisis, many people are emigrating from New York, and the real estate prices are going down. Of course, the stores are closing and everything like that. The cities are simply a place for sense gratification, and those attached to the cities, unless they're attached for preaching. I mean, I'd love to be in New York, but not because I want to go to the theater, the Guggenheim. Does anyone know what the Guggenheim is? Or see the Rockettes, which my mother dragged me to see when I was a kid, and Radio City Music Hall. No, because there would be so much preaching to do there. But otherwise, I mean, why live in a city? I mean, what's the purpose of living in a city? There's economic development, and you have to pay 10 times as much for your rent. I mean, in New York, if you've ever been in New York, I mean, just a little tiny place.
Yeah, little place, but then pays $3,000.
$3,000. Basically, you can't turn around without hitting the walls.
Yeah.
It's so small. The kitchen and everything is in one room.
Everything's loud.
and everything's loud.
All night you hear something barking, construction, yelling,
And sirens.
sirens.
Prabhupada would comment about the sirens, actually. You always hear the sirens because someone's dying somewhere in your building. So why would someone live in such a place? It's simply the mode of passion and ignorance. And that's why Prabhupada is saying, why would you bring me to this terrible place? And for most of us, we go into the city, shopping, I mean, sometimes the ladies, just to feel happy, they go to a mall and walk around the mall so they can just see the different window shopping. But all these cities are just like hellish places. So most of the population here is covered by the material modes of ignorance and passion. Absorbed in material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied, and therefore they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudeva, it should be, Krishna. I do not know how they will be able to understand it. I mean, Prabhupada is looking at all these people just like walking around in passion and ignorance, going to the bar. At that time in India, there really weren't bars. It was within the last 30 years, all the bars and liquor stores have really come up. When I first went to India, I mean, you really couldn't find a liquor store. And now you go through Delhi, and practically every block there's a liquor store. Govinda's Bar, Govinda's Liquor Store, or something like that. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Yeah, no, they'll use Krishna's name. For liquor. Yeah, they do get some benefit. Like Prabhupada said, if someone drinks liquor, if they actually chant between each gulp, then they will make some spiritual advancement. What's that? Yeah, I'm the taste of water. There's a little water in there. So Prabhupada is just thinking, what is this? These people are crazy. He's watching them in the city, walking around in the bars and the shops, Ugra Karma. Like Prabhupada he talked about Ugra Karma a lot. Like the typical example I give of that is when the devotees bought a washing machine in New Vrindavan. And this is before they had electricity or anything like that. And they were carrying this big washing machine. 4 or 5 men were carrying the washing machine up the hill into old Vrindavan, old New Vrindavan. And Prabhupada was laughing as they were doing that. And he's saying, Ugra Karma. It means horrible activity. But I know that your causeless mercy can make everything possible because you are the most expert mystic. How will they understand the mellows of devotional service? So here Prabhupada is referring to, the mellows like Baba and the rasas. How these people can understand that sophisticated stuff? They're just like, it's like going into a pigsty. How will people, or like Woodstock? Oh Lord, I am simply praying for your mercy so that I will be able to convince them about your message. And even one time Prabhupada went into a nudist colony to preach to people, and a lot of good devotees came out of that nudist colony. I'm not going to mention who. Not me, but a lot of very, very, very good dedicated devotees came out of that. One of our ex-GBCs was living in a tree in the nudist colony, in the hollow of a tree. Prabhupada's, transmitting the spiritual potency, Golaka Premadana Harinam Sankirtan, was so potent that he could take these people, nude people living in. Prabhupada said is the lowest of the low. They're going to become trees in their next life, like Manigriva and Nalakuvara. And then they became devotees, great devotees. Prabhupada's a touchstone. All living entities have come under the control of your illusory energy by your will. And therefore, if you like, by your will, they can also be released from the clutches of illusion. I wish that you may deliver them. So by Prabhupada's desire, this is happening. Because one of the points about pure devotional service, it's the only means to attract Krishna, and the pure devotee controls Krishna by his pure devotional service. Therefore, if you desire their deliverance, then only will they be able to understand your message. How will I make them understand this message of Krishna consciousness? I am very unfortunate, unqualified, and the most fallen. Therefore I am seeking your benediction, that I can convince them, for I am powerless to do so on my own. Somehow or other, O Lord, you have brought me here to speak about you. Now, my Lord, it is up to you to make me a success or failure, as you like. O spiritual master of all the worlds, I can simply repeat your message. So if you like, you could make my power of speaking suitable for their understanding. Only by your causeless mercy will my words become pure. I am sure that when this transcendental message penetrates their hearts, they will certainly feel engladdened and thus become liberated from all unhappy conditions of life. O Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance. Make me dance, O Lord. Make me dance as you like. I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. I have been designated as Bhaktivedanta, and now, if you like, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhaktivedanta. Signed, the most unfortunate, insignificant beggar, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, on board the ship Jaladuta, Commonwealth Pier, Boston, Massachusetts, USA, dated 18th of September 1965. See if the one today. This is just a commentary on Prabhupada's poem. And then on the 19th of September, the Jaladuta sailed into New York. And at 17th Street in the Brooklyn Pier, and saw the awesome Manhattan skyline, and Prabhupada was not impressed. The Empire State Building, which was actually the largest building at that particular point, and the Statue of Liberty. And Srila Prabhupada was dressed exactly like he was dressed in Vrindavan. He wore the neck beads, a simple cotton dhoti, and he carried japamala, an old chadar. Described his complexion was golden, and I can verify that. The first time I saw Prabhupada, or first night after I saw Prabhupada, I was in his room, and Prabhupada was dressed in a gamsha. I mean, it's just like just a gamsha, like a little wrap around here. And Prabhupada glowed, and his skin was actually completely golden, like molten gold, like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he had white Vaishnava tilak, pointed white rubber slippers. Actually, Prabhupada didn't wear those wooden shoes with a little knot on them. That's something Prabhupada never wore. And so no one had ever seen anyone dressed like this before. He was the first Vaishnava to arrive in New York with an uncompromised appearance. So Srila Prabhupada was completely on his own. He had a sponsor, Mr. Agarwal, which is where Prabhupada went to in Pennsylvania for a few weeks. And he didn't know what to do. He didn't know which way to turn. He walked off the ship into the pier. It's described, did not know whether to turn left or right. And finally he went to Traveler's Aid, or a representative of Traveler's Aid helped him. And he was sent to Pennsylvania on a bus. What? Yeah, Pennsylvania. Yeah, Butler, Pennsylvania. And there he resided for some time, and that's another story. Okay, so now we'll go on to Srimad Bhagavatam. Oh my God, not much time. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 20th chapter, text 15, I believe. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Gireho Varsha Dharabir Anyamana Na Avivyatuhu Abhibhuyamana Vyasanayar Yata Doksaja Chetasaha Giriyo Varshadharabhir Anyamanana Vivyatuhu Abhibhuyamana Vyasanar Yata Doksaja Chetasaha Giriyo Varshadharabhir Anyamanana Vivyatahu Abhibhuyamana Vyasanar Yata Doksaja Chetasaha Giriyo Varshadharabhir Anyamanana Vivyatahu Abhibhuyamana Vyasanar Yata Doksaja Chetasaha. Okay. Okay. Girayaha, the mountains. Varshadarabihi, by the rain-bearing clouds. Hanyamanaha, being struck. Na vivyatahu, did not shake. Abhibhuyamanaha, being attacked. Vyasanahai, by dangers. Yata, as. Adhoksaja, those whose minds are absorbed in the Supreme Lord. Translation. Just as devotees whose minds are absorbed in the personality of Godhead remain peaceful even when attacked by all sorts of dangers, the mountains in the rainy season were not at all disturbed by the repeated striking of the rain-bearing clouds. You could repeat. Just as devotees whose minds are absorbed in the personality of Godhead remain peaceful even when attacked by all sorts of dangers, the mountains in the rainy season were not at all disturbed by the repeated striking of the rain-bearing clouds. So purport by the servants of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, when splashed by torrents of rain, the mountains are not shaken. Rather, they are cleansed of dirt and become resplendent and beautiful. Similarly, an advanced devotee of the Supreme Lord is not shaken from his devotional program by disturbing conditions, which instead cleanse his heart of the dust of attachment to this world. I'm just going to repeat that sentence. So in other words, the disturbing conditions, I'm going to paraphrase it, actually cleanse his heart of his continuation of service, in spite of the disturbing conditions, cleanses his heart of the dust of attachment to the world. Thus, the devotee becomes beautiful and resplendent by tolerating difficult conditions. In fact, a devotee accepts all reverses in life as the mercy of Lord Krishna, realizing that all suffering is due to the sufferer's own previous misdeeds. And then we'll read, I guess, quickly. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, not much time. Though struck by the torrents of water, the mountain does not shake, but rather becomes beautiful, washed of dirt. The devotee afflicted by pains caused by body, mind, and other entities is not disturbed because his mind is absorbed in the Lord. Atoksaja Chitta. Bhagavatam says the material pains cannot disturb the devotee absorbed in me. And actually, I want to read that verse, 3:25-23 in Bhagavatam. I just printed it out. It's Madashraya Kata Mrichta Shrinvanti Kata Yanti Cha Tapanti Vividastapa Naitan Mad Gata Chetasaha. Engaged constantly in chanting and hearing about me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the sadhus do not suffer from material miseries because they are always filled with thoughts of my pastimes and activities. And Prabhupada's purport to this is, there are multifarious miseries in material existence, those pertaining to the body and the mind, those imposed by other living entities, and those imposed by natural disturbances. But a sadhu is not disturbed by such miserable conditions because his mind is always filled with Krishna consciousness, and thus he does not like to talk about anything but the activities of the Lord. So, of course, this is actually important in these particular days of the COVID virus. Maharaj Ambarish did not speak of anything but the pastimes of the Lord, Vachamsi Vaikuntha Gunanuvarnane. That's from the 9th canto of Bhagavatam. He engages words only in the glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sadhus are always interested in hearing about the activities of the Lord or his devotees. Since they are filled with Krishna consciousness, they are forgetful of the material miseries. That's an important word. Ordinary conditioned souls, being forgetful of the activities of the Lord, are always full of anxieties and material tribulations. On the other hand, since the devotees always engage in the topics of the Lord, they are forgetful of the miseries of material existence. So, that's 3:25-23. It's actually quite a wonderful verse by in the Bhagavatam, and a wonderful purport by Srila Prabhupada. That rather the devotee remains free of pride, envy, and other bad qualities because of his humble attitude. Such difficulties are welcomed by the devotees. And Jiva Goswami states, mountains struck by the intense showers of rain, as if trying to defeat it, but do not feel grief, but rather become beautiful, being cleansed of dirt. Similarly, a person thinking the Lord does not grieve because of difficulties like sickness, because he must necessarily experience them as parabdha karma. Tvam sevatam surakrita bahuvo ntaraya. The devatas place many obstacles on the path of those who worship you. That's from the Bhagavatam. Though being assaulted, the devotees do not feel grief. Rather, they become glorious since they perfect remembrance of the Lord with the dissolving of bad karmas. That is indicated in Sridhar Swami's commentary by the word Eva. Those who think of the Lord only are not disturbed by difficulties. And Prabhupada's translation here, in light of the Bhagavad, the mountains, although being struck by torrents of rain during the rainy season, are not shaken, just as those whose hearts are dedicated to the transcendental personality of Godhead are never disturbed, even when harassed by good fortune. And Prabhupada's purport, because a person who is spiritually advanced accepts any adverse condition of life as the mercy of the Lord, he is completely eligible to enter into the spiritual kingdom. Even though a person takes material body. Even though a person takes to the devotional service of the Supreme Lord, he may sometimes become diseased, impoverished, or disappointed by life's events. A true devotee of the Lord always considers these sufferings to be due to past sinful activities, and thus, without becoming disturbed, he patiently awaits the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Such devotees are compared to high mountains which are never agitated in any way, even when struck by powerful torrents of rain in the rainy season. Rather, such devotees remain humble in spiritual enlightenment, free from pride and envy. They easily gain the mercy of the Lord and go back home, back to Godhead. So, Om Gana Timiranda Shah Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshur Unmeditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So naturally, hearing all these things, we're reminded of the verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Tatenu Kampam Sujamikshamana Bunjana Vatman Kritam Vipakam Ridbag Vapurvir Vedanam Namaste Jiveta Yo Mukti Pade Sudayabak. And this is a verse that Srila Prabhupada would often think about. And the verse says that one tolerates what comes the difficulties that come, and he attributes them to reactions to his past sinful activities. Now, on the other hand, I'm going to give a balanced approach to this. One who is chanting the holy name of the Lord, still got another 4 minutes, doesn't really even have any sinful activities, as we've spoken many times before in Bhaktivinoda Thakur states, that when one chants the holy name of the Lord, even the parabdha karma is demolished. However, for those of us who are coming to Krishna consciousness, and we're not talking about people like Prabhupada, those who are coming to Krishna consciousness, we don't have any more parabdha karma, but Krishna gives us what Prabhupada termed a token reaction for our past sinful activities. In other words, another example Prabhupada gave was like the fan. You have a fan's plugged in, it's moving very fast, you unplug it, and the momentum of the fan enables the fan to continue spinning. So there is some momentum which is directly administered by Krishna for someone who is a devotee chanting the Lord's holy names, that reminds you of your past wonderful activities in the material world. Actually, sinful activities in the material world. But it is not really parabdha karma at that point. I know this is an argument some people have. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes it extremely clear that, let's just put this book away, that by chanting the holy name, even in Namabash, all the karma, parabdha karma, etc., kuta, bija, whatever, becomes eradicated. So there's a token reaction. So this verse states that, but a devotee doesn't think, oh, it's just a token reaction. A devotee thinks that this is my sinful reaction that I would have to suffer because it's been reduced by Krishna, because of my past activities. And I am going to not just tolerate, this verse says, I'm going to go on serving Krishna. Rid vag vapurvir vidadan namaste. I'm going to go serving Krishna enthusiastically. Because what does it mean, rid vag vapurvir? Vapur means like body, like you know about spiritual master is Vani and Vapu, same word. Vapu means physical body. And Vani, of course, means instructions. So rid means heart. You understand? Heart, words. Vaga, of course, like vak, words. So he goes on serving Krishna. Let's just take this heart thing. That's where I'm deriving enthusiasm from. Utsahan nistya darya tatat karma pavartanat. Because his heart's given to Krishna. He's enthusiastic. It's not that he just tolerates. He's thinking all these difficulties are coming. Oh, Krishna, I know it's a token reaction, but I am miserable too. Nobody knows the troubles I've seen. Nobody knows the sorrows. 16 rounds, and what do I get? Another day older and deeper in debt. Yamaraj, don't call me, for I can't come. You know that song?
I don't, but where is that from?
That's an old Negro spiritual in the United States. 16 tons. Anyway, so Yamaraj, don't call me, I can't come. So it's not, sometimes we get into this real complaining, negativity. Oh my God, what's happened to me? I look in the mirror, what happened to my youth? Or someone shows me a picture yesterday of me as a young person. Leela Shakti said, that was my spiritual master. And I said, and so instead of lamenting, what happened to my youth or what happened to whatever, my get up and go went up and went. So instead of that, I remain enthusiastic. Why? Even though the body is not enthusiastic anymore. When you're young, the body is naturally enthusiastic, gets you moving like that, like you see with some of the young people. So you just push yourself. Actually, Sasru Maharaj gave a nice example. He said, enthusiasm is like a catcher's mitt. He was a baseball fan. And he said, what do you do when you have I guess the catcher's mitt in the left hand? Yeah, I don't remember. He said, you keep punching it. Even though it keeps going out of shape, you keep punching it. Because with the heart, you're serving Krishna. So that's really the point. So no complaining.